Nothing like the smell of burnt oil and betrayal to start your week. I'm Brent Morrison, 41 years old, and I've been fixing cars longer than most people have been screwing up their lives. My hands are permanently stained with grease. My back aches from crawling under engines. And until last Tuesday, I thought I had my life figured out. Shows how much a man can know about his own existence. The garage where I work sits on the east side of Cleveland, wedged between a liquor store and a laundromat that's seen better decades. Anwar's Auto Repair isn't much to look at from the outside, but we do honest work for honest people. At least, that's what I used to believe about everyone in my life. Brent, you got a visitor, called out Mr. Anwar from the office. He's Lebanese, tough as nails, and has been running this place since before I graduated high school. The man can spot a lie from across the shop floor, which makes what happened next even more embarrassing. Lila walked in wearing that red dress I bought her for her birthday, the one that hugs her curves just right. 29 years old, blonde hair that catches the light like spun gold, and a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos. She worked nights at Murphy's Tavern downtown, slinging drinks and collecting tips from guys who thought they had a chance. "Hey, baby," she said, leaning against my workbench. "Busy day?" I wiped my hands on a rag and gave her a kiss. She tasted like strawberry lip gloss and secrets. Just the usual. Mrs. Patterson's Civic is making that noise again, and Tommy's truck needs new brake pads. What brings you by? Can't a girl visit her fiancé? She played with the engagement ring I'd saved 6 months to buy. Besides, I wanted to ask you about something. That should have been my first warning. When Leela wanted to ask about something, it usually meant she'd already decided what she was going to do and just needed me to agree with it. "What's on your mind?" I asked, turning back to the engine I was working on. A 2018 Honda with transmission problems. Simple fix, but the owner had been putting it off for months. Funny how people ignore problems until they become disasters. "Well, you know how my bachelorette party is coming up in 2 weeks?" I nodded. She'd been planning it for months. Vegas, naturally. 3 days of what she called harmless fun with her girlfriends. The thing is, we're a little short on cash for the hotel. You know how expensive Vegas can be? I stopped what I was doing and looked at her. "How short are we talking?" "About 3,000. $3,000. That was half my monthly take-home pay." "Lila, we've got the wedding to pay for, and the down payment on the house we looked at. Maybe you could scale back the party a little?" Her face changed. The sweet, loving expression melted away like sugar in rain, replaced by something harder. "Scale back? Brent, this is my bachelorette party. It's supposed to be special." "I know, but I already told the girls we were going. They've requested time off work. Maddie even broke up with her boyfriend so she could come." Maddie Chen was Lila's best friend and worst influence. 28 years old, with a trust fund from her parents, and a talent for spending other people's money. She had opinions about everything, and the subtlety of a brick through a window. "Maybe Maddie could help with the costs?" I suggested. Leila laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know she's between jobs right now." Maddie was always between jobs. Her last position had been at a boutique downtown, which she'd quit after 2 weeks because the manager didn't appreciate her creative vision. "Look," Leila continued, "I have an idea. What about the Mustang?" My blood went cold. The Mustang. My 1967 Ford Mustang Fastback, candy apple red with a 390 V8 engine. I'd bought it as a rust bucket 5 years ago and spent every weekend since then bringing it back to life. New paint, rebuilt engine, restored interior. It was my pride and joy, my escape from the world, my reminder that beautiful things could be saved with enough patience and effort. "What about it?" I asked, though I already knew where this was going. "We could sell it, just temporarily. After the wedding, when we're more settled, you could buy another one." I stared at her for a long moment. In the background, I could hear the sounds of the garage, air tools hissing, metal clanging, the radio playing some country song about heartbreak and whiskey. It all seemed very far away. "Lila, that car isn't just transportation. It's a car, Brent. A really expensive car that we don't need. I've put 5 years of my life into that car. Every weekend, every spare dollar." She stepped closer, put her hand on my chest. "And it's beautiful. You did amazing work. But it's just sitting in the garage most of the time. We could get at least 15,000 for it, maybe 20. That would cover the bachelorette party and leave us money for the honeymoon. 20,000. She wasn't wrong about the value. I'd seen similar cars sell for that much, sometimes more. But selling it felt like cutting off my own arm. Let me think about it, I said. Her smile returned, bright and warm. Of course, baby. Take your time, but don't take too long, okay? I need to book the hotel suite soon, or we'll lose our reservation. After she left, I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept wandering. Tyler Jenkins, my best friend since high school, stopped by around 4 o'clock. He was a year older than me, built like a linebacker, with graying hair and laugh lines around his eyes. Used to be a cop before he started his own security business. You look like someone ran over your dog, he said, grabbing a beer from the mini fridge in the corner. I told him about Lila's request. Tyler listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. He had opinions about everything, usually delivered with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. So what are you going to do? He asked when I finished. I don't know. It's just a car, right? Tyler snorted. Bullshit. That car is your baby. I've watched you work on it for 5 years. You've got more love invested in that machine than most people put into their marriages. Speaking of marriage, I'm getting married in 6 weeks. Yeah, to a woman who wants you to sell your most prized possession to pay for a party. I didn't have an answer for that. Tyler finished his beer and stood up. Look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will say this. Pay attention to what people ask you to sacrifice for them. It tells you a lot about how much they really value you. That night, I sat in the Mustang in my garage, running my hands over the steering wheel. I'd restored myself. The leather was butter soft, the dashboard gleamed, and when I turned the key, the engine purred like a contented cat. This car represented everything good about my life. Patience, craftsmanship, the satisfaction of fixing something broken. I made my decision. I was going to tell Lila no. The next morning, I walked into Murphy's Tavern to talk to Lila. It was early, just after they opened, and the place smelled like stale beer and industrial cleaner. Murphy's wasn't the kind of place you'd take your mother, but it had character. Dark wood, dim lighting, and a jukebox that played everything from Johnny Cash to Metallica. Lila was behind the bar, setting up for the lunch crowd. She looked surprised to see me. Brent, what are you doing here? We need to talk about the Mustang. Her face lit up. You've decided to sell it? Actually, no. I've been thinking about it all night, and I can't do it. That car means too much to me. The light in her eyes died. Are you serious? Dead serious. Look, I understand the party is important to you, but maybe we can find another way. I could pick up some overtime, or we could ask your parents for help. My parents? Her voice rose. You want me to go begging to my parents for money? It's not begging, it's asking family for help. No. She slammed a glass down on the bar hard enough to make me wince. Absolutely not. I'm not going to my parents like some kind of charity case. Then maybe we scale back the party. I already told you, that's not happening. We stared at each other across the bar. In the harsh fluorescent light, I could see things I'd missed before. The way her jaw set when she didn't get what she wanted. The coldness in her eyes when she was calculating her next move. Brent, be reasonable. It's one car. It's not just a car to me. Then what is it? Some kind of shrine to your past? A security blanket? Her words stung because they hit close to home. Maybe the Mustang was a security blanket. Maybe it represented a simpler time when I understood the rules of the world. You work hard, you fix what's broken, you take care of what matters to you. It's mine, I said finally. It's the one thing in my life that's completely mine, that I built with my own hands. What about me? What about us? What about us? You're asking me to sell something I love to pay for a party. It's not just a party. It's my bachelorette party. It's supposed to be special. And our marriage? Is that supposed to be special too? Because right now, it feels like you care more about 3 days in Vegas than you do about starting a life together. She turned away from me, busying herself with unnecessary tasks. You're being dramatic. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally paying attention. I left the bar feeling worse than when I'd arrived. This was supposed to be the happiest time of our lives. We were getting married in 6 weeks, starting fresh, building something together. Instead, we were fighting about money and priorities, and what mattered most. That afternoon, Tyler stopped by the garage again. He took one look at my face and shook his head. Let me guess, she didn't take it well. She thinks I'm being selfish. Are you? I considered the question. I don't think so. I mean, Would you sell your motorcycle to pay for someone else's party? Tyler's Harley was his pride and joy, a 1985 Sportster he'd restored from the ground up. He'd sooner cut off his right hand than sell that bike. Hell no. But then again, I'm not getting married. What's that supposed to mean? Marriage is about compromise, right? Give and take. Maybe she's got a point. I stared at him. Whose side are you on? Yours, always. But I'm also trying to be realistic. You love that car, but you love her too. Which one matters more? It was a fair question, and I didn't have a good answer. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to Lila breathe beside me. She'd been quiet all evening, speaking only when necessary. The silent treatment was one of her favorite weapons. Around 2 in the morning, I heard her phone buzz. She rolled over and checked it, the screen's glow illuminating her face. She smiled at whatever she was reading, then typed a quick response. When she put the phone down, she was still smiling. Who was that? I asked. She jumped, startled. Oh, you're awake, just Maddie. She's excited about the trip. But something about her tone didn't sit right. There was a secretiveness to it, like a kid caught with their hand in the cookie jar. The next morning, Lila was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note saying she had errands to run and would see me later. I made coffee and tried to focus on the day ahead. I had 3 cars to finish and a parts delivery to process. Around noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Brent Morrison? Yeah, who's this? My name's David Cooper. I saw your ad online about the Mustang. Is it still available? My blood turned to ice. What ad? The Facebook Marketplace listing. 1967 Mustang Fastback, 20,000 or best offer. The pictures look amazing. I hung up and immediately opened Facebook on my phone. There it was, my car, my beautiful Mustang, listed for sale with photos I'd never taken. The description read, reluctant sale due to wedding expenses. This baby has been completely restored and runs like a dream. Serious inquiries only. The listing was posted from Lila's account. My hands shook as I called her. It went straight to voicemail. Lila, call me back right now. We need to talk. I tried 3 more times. Same result. Tyler found me 20 minutes later, pacing around the garage like a caged animal. What's wrong? You look like you're about to punch something. I showed him the Facebook listing. His face went through several expressions: surprise, anger, and finally, something that looked like pity. She posted your car for sale without asking you? Apparently. I've got people calling me wanting to buy it. Have you talked to her? She's not answering her phone. Tyler was quiet for a moment, thinking. Brent, I need to tell you something. I probably should have mentioned it sooner. What? Last week when I was at Murphy's having a beer, I saw Lila talking to some guy. Tall, muscular, looked like he spent a lot of time at the gym. They seemed pretty friendly. My stomach dropped. Friendly how? Touching his arm, laughing at everything he said, leaning in close when she talked. Could have been innocent, but you don't think it was. I don't know what to think. But combined with this car thing, it makes me wonder what else she's not telling you. I felt like the ground was shifting under my feet. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my relationship, my future, suddenly seemed uncertain. What do I do? Tyler put his hand on my shoulder. First, you take down that listing. It's your car, and she had no right to post it. Then you figure out what kind of woman you're about to marry. I spent the next hour reporting the Facebook listing and getting it removed. Leela finally called me back around 3 o'clock. Brent, I can explain. You better. I was just testing the waters, seeing what kind of interest there was. I wasn't actually going to sell it without talking to you first. You listed it for sale, Lila. People are calling me wanting to buy it. I know, and I'm sorry. I should have asked first. But we really need the money, and I thought if you saw how much interest there was, you might change your mind. So you went behind my back. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. But she didn't sound sorry. She sounded like someone who'd been caught and was trying to minimize the damage. Leela, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. Are you seeing someone else? The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Leela, that's a horrible thing to ask. It's not an answer. No, Brent, I'm not seeing anyone else. I can't believe you'd even think that. But her voice had that same secretive quality it had the night before, when she'd gotten the text message. I'm coming to the bar tonight, I said. We need to talk face to face. I'll be working. Then we'll talk while you work. I hung up before she could argue. That evening, I walked into Murphy's with a sick feeling in my stomach. The bar was busier than usual for a Wednesday night, filled with the usual mix of blue-collar workers and college students looking for cheap drinks. Lila was behind the bar, but she wasn't alone. A tall, muscular guy with perfectly styled hair and a tight black t-shirt was leaning against the bar, talking to her. She was laughing at something he'd said, her hand resting on his forearm. This had to be the guy Tyler had seen. I walked over and took a seat at the bar. The guy looked me up and down, taking in my work clothes and grease-stained hands. "Brent," Lila said, her voice tight. "This is Rico. Rico, this is my fiancé, Brent." Rico extended his hand. His grip was firm, deliberately so. "Nice to meet you, man. Lila's told me a lot about you. Funny, she's never mentioned you." Rico smiled, but there was something predatory about it. "I manage the Gold's Gym downtown. Lila's been thinking about joining. Is that right?" I looked at Lila. "Since when are you interested in working out?" "Since I want to look good for the wedding," she said, not meeting my eyes. "You look fine to me." "A woman can always improve herself," Rico said. "Physical fitness is about more than just appearance. It's about confidence, self-respect, knowing what your body can do." The way he said it, looking directly at Lila, made my skin crawl. "I need to talk to you," I told Lila, privately. "I'm working. Then I'll wait." Rico pushed off from the bar. "I should get going anyway." "Lila, think about what we discussed. The offer stands." After he left, I sat at the bar nursing a beer and watching Lila work. She moved differently than usual, more aware of her body, more conscious of how she looked. Every few minutes, she'd check her phone. Around 11, the crowd started to thin out. I moved to a table in the corner, and Lila eventually joined me. "So," I said. "Rico, he's just a friend. Friends don't look at each other the way you two were looking at each other. You're being paranoid." "Am I? First you try to sell my car behind my back. Now I find out you've got some muscle-bound gym rats sniffing around you. What am I supposed to think? You're supposed to trust me." "Trust goes both ways, Lila. And right now, I'm not feeling very trusted." She leaned back in her chair, studying me. "You know what your problem is, Brent? You're boring." The word hit me like a slap. "Excuse me? You're boring. You work on cars all day, you come home covered in grease, you spend your weekends tinkering with that stupid Mustang. When was the last time we did something exciting? When was the last time you surprised me? I proposed to you on the beach in Myrtle Beach. I thought that was pretty exciting. That was 8 months ago. What have you done lately?" I stared at her, trying to figure out when everything had gone wrong. "I work hard to support us. I'm saving money for our future. I thought that's what adults did. Adults also have fun. Adults take risks. Adults don't spend every weekend in their garage playing with old cars. That old car is worth $20,000 because I spent those weekends working on it. And now I'm asking you to sell it so we can have some fun, and you won't even consider it." We were going in circles. Every argument led back to the same place. She wanted something I wasn't willing to give, and I wanted something she wasn't willing to be. "I'm going home," I said, standing up. "Brent, wait." I turned back to her. "I love you," she said. "But I need more than this. I need excitement. I need to feel alive. And I don't make you feel alive." She didn't answer, which was answer enough. The next morning, I woke up to find Lila's side of the bed empty. There was another note. "Went to Maddie's. Need some space to think." I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring out at the garage where my Mustang waited. Maybe Lila was right. Maybe I was boring. Maybe I was too focused on practical things like work and saving money and building a future. But if that was true, why had she said yes when I proposed? Why had she spent the last 8 months planning a wedding with me? My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. "Still interested in the Mustang? Willing to pay cash today." I deleted the message without responding. Around noon, Tyler stopped by. He found me under the hood of a Chevy Silverado, trying to lose myself in work. "Heard you had an interesting night at Murphy's. How did you hear about that?" "Small town, big mouths. Someone saw you and Lila having what looked like a serious conversation." I told him about Rico and the conversation with Lila. Tyler listened without interrupting, his face growing darker with each detail. "So she called you boring, among other things. And this Rico character was practically marking his territory while you were sitting right there. That's about the size of it." Tyler was quiet for a moment. "Brent, I'm going to say something, and you're probably not going to want to hear it. Go ahead." "I think she's already cheating on you." The words hung in the air between us like a toxic cloud. Part of me wanted to argue, to defend Lila, to insist that she was just confused and stressed about the wedding. But a bigger part of me knew Tyler was right. What makes you so sure? The way she was with him, the secretiveness, the sudden need for space to think, and the fact that she's trying to liquidate your assets. My assets? The car, Brent. She's trying to get you to sell the most valuable thing you own. Think about it. If she's planning to leave you, she doesn't want to walk away empty-handed. The possibility hit me like a punch to the gut. You think she's planning to leave me? I think she's keeping her options open. And I think this Rico guy is option number one. I spent the rest of the day in a fog, going through the motions of work while my mind churned. By evening, I'd made a decision. I needed to know the truth, whatever it cost me. I drove to Maddie's apartment, a trendy loft downtown that her parents paid for. Lila's car was in the parking lot, along with a black Jeep Wrangler I didn't recognize. I climbed the stairs to Maddie's door and knocked. Footsteps, then Maddie's voice. "Who is it?" "It's Brent. I need to talk to Lila," whispering from inside. Then Maddie opened the door. She was wearing a silk robe and looked flustered. "Brent, hi. Lila's not here. Her car's in the parking lot." She went for a walk to clear her head. More whispering from inside the apartment. A male voice. "Who's in there with you, Maddie?" "No one. I mean, just a friend." I pushed past her into the apartment. The living room was empty, but I could hear movement from the bedroom. The black Jeep's keys were on the coffee table, along with a Gold's Gym membership card with Rico's name on it. "Where is she, Maddie?" "Brent, you need to leave. This is my apartment, and you're trespassing." The bedroom door opened, and Rico walked out, shirtless, wearing only a pair of jeans. Behind him, I could see Lila pulling on a robe. For a moment, nobody moved. We all stood there like actors who'd forgotten their lines. Then Rico smiled. "Hey, Brent. Didn't expect to see you here." Something inside me snapped. 5 years of working overtime, saving money, planning a future, restoring a car piece by piece, building a life I thought we both wanted. All of it crumbled in that moment. "How long?" I asked Lila. She couldn't look at me. "Brent, it's not what you think. How long have you been sleeping with him?" 2 months, Rico said when Lila didn't answer. "Started right after she joined the gym." "Rico, shut up," Maddie hissed, but he ignored her. "Look, man, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But Lila's been unhappy for a while. She needed someone who could give her what she was missing." "And what was she missing?" Rico's smile widened. "Excitement, adventure, a real man." I looked at Lila, still hoping she'd say something, anything, to make this make sense. But she just stood there, wrapped in her robe, looking like she wanted to disappear. "The car," I said. "You were trying to sell my car to get money for him." "No," she said quickly. "The money was for the bachelorette party, I told you." "Bullshit. There is no bachelorette party, is there? You were going to take the money and run off with him." "Brent, please. Were you ever going to marry me? Or was this whole thing just a way to get what you could before you left?" She finally looked at me, and I saw the truth in her eyes. The wedding was never going to happen. I'd just been too stupid to see it. I turned and walked toward the door. Behind me, Rico called out, "Hey, no hard feelings, right? These things happen." I stopped and turned back to him. "You know what, Rico? You're right. These things do happen. And sometimes, when they happen, there are consequences. Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." I left the apartment and sat in my truck for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. My fiancée was cheating on me with a gym manager who looked like he'd stepped out of a protein powder commercial. She'd tried to sell my most prized possession to fund her escape, and I'd been too blind to see it coming. But as I sat there, something strange happened. The crushing weight of betrayal began to transform into something else. Something harder and colder. Anger. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove to the garage and sat in my Mustang, thinking. The car smelled like leather and metal and the faint trace of gasoline that never quite went away. It was honest smell, the smell of real things built by real work. Around 3 in the morning, I made my first decision. I wasn't going to be the victim in this story. The next morning, I called in sick to work and spent the day making preparations. First, I went to the bank and moved half our joint savings into a new account under my name only. Then I called the wedding venue and canceled everything. The deposits were non-refundable, but that was a small price to pay for clarity. By noon, I had a plan. Tyler found me at home around 2 o'clock, sitting at my kitchen table with a notebook full of scribbled ideas. "You look different," he said. "Different how?" "Focused, like you've made a decision about something." I told him what I'd discovered at Maddie's apartment. He listened without interrupting, his face growing grimmer with each detail. "So what are you going to do?" he asked when I finished. "I'm going to destroy them. Brent, not physically. I'm not going to hurt anyone, but I'm going to make sure they pay for what they've done." "How?" I showed him my notebook. "Rico thinks he's smart, but he's made some mistakes. That Jeep he drives, it's leased under the gym's business account, which means he's using company property for personal use. The apartment he's staying at, it's supposed to be a corporate rental for out-of-town trainers, but he's been living there for 6 months. How do you know all this?" "I spent the morning doing research. Amazing what you can find out about someone when you put your mind to it." Tyler looked skeptical. "And Leela's got her own problems. She's been claiming me as a dependent on her taxes to get a bigger refund. But we're not married. That's fraud. Plus, she's been skimming from the register at Murphy's. Small amounts, but it adds up." "How do you know about the skimming?" "Because she told me. She called it evening out her tips when customers didn't tip enough. She thought it was funny." Tyler sat back in his chair. "Jesus, Brent, you're talking about destroying their lives. They destroyed mine first. But is this really who you want to be?" I looked at him across the table. "Tyler, for 5 years, I've been the good guy. I worked hard, saved money, treated people fairly, tried to build something lasting. And where did it get me? My fiancé is screwing a gym manager, and they were planning to steal my car to fund their escape. So you're going to become the bad guy." "I'm going to become the guy who doesn't get taken advantage of." That afternoon, I put my plan into motion. First, I called the IRS fraud hotline and reported Lila's tax situation. Then I called Gold's Gym corporate office and reported Rico's misuse of company property. Finally, I called Murphy's Tavern and spoke to the owner about his employee theft problem. By 5 o'clock, the dominoes were starting to fall. Leela called me around 6, crying. "Brent, something terrible has happened. I got fired from Murphy's. They're saying I stole money, but I never. You told me you were skimming from the register." Silence. Then, "That was different. That was just evening things out." "That was theft, Leela, and now you're facing the consequences." "Did you do this? Did you get me fired?" I told the truth to people who needed to hear it. "You bastard. You can't do this to me." "I can, and I did, and I'm just getting started." She hung up on me. An hour later, Rico called. "You think you're pretty smart, don't you?" he said without preamble. "Smarter than you, apparently. Corporate called me today. They want to know why I'm living in a company apartment and using a company vehicle for personal use. Gee, I wonder how they found out about that." "This isn't over, Morrison." "You're right, it's not." He hung up too. The next morning, I went to work as usual. Mr. Anwar took one look at me and shook his head. "You look like a man who's been through a war." "Something like that." "The wedding is off." "The wedding is off." He nodded. "Good. I never liked that girl. Too much ambition, not enough character. You could have told me. Would you have listened?" He had a point. Around noon, Tyler stopped by with news. Rico got suspended from the gym, pending an investigation. And word is, Lila's been evicted from her apartment. Apparently, she was behind on rent and using the security deposit money for other things. Other things like what? Like expensive dinners and hotel rooms with her new boyfriend. I felt a grim satisfaction. What about the IRS thing? That'll take longer to play out, but she's definitely on their radar now. That evening, I was working late at the garage when I heard footsteps outside. I looked up to see Rico standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the streetlights. "We need to talk," he said. I set down my wrench and stood up. "About what?" "About calling off your little revenge campaign." "I don't know what you're talking about." He stepped into the garage, and I could see his face clearly. He looked like he hadn't slept much. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. The calls to my corporate office, getting Lila fired, the IRS thing. You did those things to yourselves. I just made sure the right people found out about them. You're destroying our lives over a woman who doesn't love you." The words stung, but I didn't let it show. "No, I'm holding you accountable for your actions. There's a difference." Rico took another step closer. He was bigger than me, more muscular, probably stronger. but I'd spent 20 years working with my hands, and I wasn't intimidated. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. "You're going to call those people back and tell them you made a mistake. You're going to fix this. Or what? Or I'm going to make you fix it." I laughed. "You're going to beat me up? In my own garage? That's your solution? If that's what it takes. Go ahead, try it. But understand something. I've got nothing left to lose. You've already taken everything that mattered to me. So if you want to add assault charges to your growing list of problems, be my guest." He stood there for a long moment, weighing his options. Finally, he stepped back. "This isn't over. You keep saying that. But from where I'm standing, it looks pretty over to me." After he left, I called Tyler. "Rico just paid me a visit. Tried to intimidate me into backing off. You okay?" "I'm fine, but I think things are about to escalate." "What do you mean?" "I mean they're getting desperate. And desperate people do stupid things." I was right. The next morning, I arrived at the garage to find my truck's tires slashed and the word "ASHALE" spray painted across the side of the building. Mr. Anwar was furious. "This is vandalism. We call the police." "No," I said. "Let me handle this." "Brent, this has gone too far." "It's not far enough. Not yet." That afternoon, I installed security cameras around the garage and my house. If Rico and Lila wanted to play games, I was going to make sure I had evidence of everything they did. I didn't have to wait long. That night, around 2 in the morning, my security system alerted me to movement in my driveway. I checked the cameras and saw Lila trying to break into my garage. I called the police, then got dressed and went outside. By the time the cops arrived, Lila was sitting on my front steps, crying. "She was trying to break into my garage," I told the officers. "Is that true, miss?" one of them asked. Lila looked up at me with red, puffy eyes. "I just wanted to talk to him. The garage door was unlocked." "It was locked," I said, "and I have video evidence of her trying to pry it open with a crowbar." The officers looked at the garage door, which showed clear signs of damage. They found the crowbar in the bushes nearby. "Ma'am, we're going to have to take you in for attempted breaking and entering." As they led her to the patrol car, Lila looked back at me. "I loved you," she said. "I really did." "No," I replied. "You loved what I could give you. There's a difference." The next few days passed in a blur of police reports, insurance claims, and phone calls from lawyers. Lila was released on bail, but she had to stay away from me and my property. Rico was fired from Gold's Gym after their investigation revealed he'd been embezzling money through fake personal training sessions. I thought that would be